I'm Matt.
I'm Kerry.
We are the Stagmer brothers, a Baltimore knife and sword. We're going to be building some of your favorite weapons, and some weapons that you've never seen before.
This is Man-at-Arms, Reforged.
You guys have been begging for us to make just about anything Daedric from Elder Scrolls. We decided to go with a big axe. We've done a lot of swords on Man-at-Arms, but we haven't done too many big axes. This is obviously very complicated. It's not a small axe, it's gonna be a huge two-handed battle axe. The first thing we're gonna do is get this center section forged. I'm gonna spend the next couple hours drawing over these overlays, and as soon as we have that center section forged, I can then scale it up, give it to John, and start cutting them out.
For the Elder Scrolls axe, I chose a 2x2 piece of mild steel for the jacket, and I'm going to have a piece of 1084 steel for the edge of the axe.
So the first thing Ilya's got to do is he's got to create two offsets. Those offsets are going to allow that raised section in the middle to become his back spike. He'll then be able to wrap it around, create the other two offsets that the bit for the hard edge will be slit into and then forge welded. For the second heat on this axe, Ilya's moving to the screw press. We're going to use a V-shaped die to begin the bend on the axe. Now that we started the bend on the screw press, it's time to move back to the power hammer and continue. Working with large stock and a really large power hammer, we got two really big advantages. One, the stock is going to retain its heat a lot longer. We just bent it over the anvil, went straight to the hammer, did a little bit more folding on the hammer. Ilya then used that offset that he made to draw out the back spike a whole bunch. We then had even more time to inset a piece of stainless rod into the eye to ensure that when we close it up, it doesn't weld upon itself. Then he did a little bit more forging on the hammer, all in the same heat, and then we drove the stainless back out and returned to the forge. So that right there is the prime example of what big stock and a giant hammer does for you. At this stage, it's ready to receive the high carbon bit. Now that our high carbon edge is forge welded in, Ilya moves back to the hammer to begin spreading the axe. Right now, what Ilya is doing, he's trying to pull out that top point and the bottom point, which is called a beard on the axe. After flattening our material that will be then turned into our back spike, Ilya places the axe onto the anvil, holds a hand hot cut tool as I strike, and we split it into two pieces. The next process we have to do with the axe is we got to turn that oval shaped eye into a nice sharp square. We got a nice tapered square drift here that we're going to drive through. We put a little bit of charcoal and oil on that drift to make sure that it doesn't get stuck. Ilya's going to place the axe on the anvil, and I'm going to strike that drift through. After drifting the eye, we reinsert the drift, move to the hydraulic press, and pinch the sides to create really sharp square corners. So what we're doing now is we're spreading the back spike open. It's got a nice forked look to it. So what Ilya's doing is knocking one completely out of the way, then spreading the one open, going back to the flat of the anvil, flattening it out, and then repeating that process until we get the shape we want. The next step that we have to do is make sure the back spike and the edge are perfectly straight in line with the socket. If we don't do this step, it's not gonna cut true. It's gonna be really wonky in the hand, so this is a really important step. One of the last steps we have to do before adding any overlays to the axe is to grind in that serrated look to the edge. I'm doing this on the edge of the contact wheel. This will turn our slicing edge into a flesh-ripping edge.
Now that the primary body of this axe is forged to shape, we're going to be plasma cutting some overlays. John loads them into the CNC, gets the material in place, and makes the cut.
Pretty neat to have the blend of hand-forged pieces and some machined pieces all together. It's kind of like a giant puzzle at this point. We got about 20 different pieces to all layer up and rivet together. John's gonna have his hand full for the next few hours doing that work.
John now takes the overlays to the sander where he deburrs them. As he does this, he actually bevels them as well. This will give us more of a look of depth on the piece as we assemble.
Now we have our butt spike for the Elder Scroll axe. I'm going to put a little texturing on it with the TIG welder. I'm not actually adding any metal. I'm just going to disturb the flat surface that's there.
After laying in some texture with the TIG welder, John now moves on to the MIG welder to attach the spike to a socket that will allow us to fit it onto the wood handle at the bottom. To lay in that much needed texture on our langettes for this axe, we're going to use a special die on the power hammer that Sam made. He basically took some MIG weld and welded on a bar. This is going to allow us to really have a nice texture that almost ends up looking like a thing of beef jerky. Alright, we found a nice piece of oak that we had in the back shop. We're going to use as our haft for our axe. Just need to do some rough sizing. Here's our langettes. From here, I'll turn one end square and I'll make the other end nice and round to fit this socket. And the handle part will be kind of round. We want to keep it a little oval so you have a good grip so the axe doesn't want to turn on you when you're using it. The overlays on this axe are obviously riveted together in the game. To create this look, we're going to use a MIG welder, and then while the bead is still hot, hit it with a ball peen hammer to create that rivet. After placing the upper overlays into place, John moves to the sander to create a sharp edge on that top point. Alright, the next step I have to do before we can get this axe mounted is I gotta heat up the forked beard of this axe, spread those open so they can go around the shaft, then I'll put the shaft in and get everything trued up. Alright, the guys got a lot more of this figured out. Some more overlays on there, the socket's trued, the langettes are all welded to the axe head, so that's all good to go. Now what I have to do is, I gotta take this socket that fits on right on the top of the handle, and then this on the bottom of the handle. So what I have to do is I gotta get this bottom and here ovate, get a little more round in here. This shape has to come in a little bit. So I gotta go back to the sander and refine my shape. Haven't had a chance to make any really big axes on Man-at-Arms yet. This is our first. I think we killed it. Can't wait to go to the demos and wreck some stuff.
Our arsenal contains many things, and now we add to it an axe worthy of the Daedra.
Click here to subscribe, or click here to watch more episodes. Thanks for watching Man-at-Arms Reforged. We need to know what you want the guys to build, so tell us in the comments below what weapons you want to see next.